Hi class, so we're going to look at the final example. So we're looking at the attached earlobes, example 2. So this one we didn't complete in class. So it says Tony has attached earlobes, his parents have free earlobes, and so do his older brother and younger sister. He thinks he was switched at birth. How could this be? So we're going to draw out the family. So his parents, will draw them first. So remember, they're connected with a direct line, okay? Direct line indicates that they have a romantic relationship. So they had children together. Let's see. Let me just double check to see how many kids we have. So there's Tony, okay, and his older brother and younger sister. Okay, so Tony is a boy's name, so we're going to draw a square. This is Tony. Okay, has a younger sister, that's a circle, and an older brother. Perfect. So if we look, okay, remember that for siblings there's an overarching bracket. So we don't want to connect them directly because that would indicate that something was wrong, because only people who are reproducing together should be connected directly with a straight line. Okay, perfect. So Tony has attached earlobes and he's the only one. So this is our characteristic of interest. I'm going to shade him. Okay, this is also a recessive trait. So we know already Tony's genotype is lowercase e, lowercase e. Because everyone else has the free earlobes, so remember that was the difference between if your ear is kind of free hanging at the bottom or if it's connected, okay, at the very bottom. Okay, so everyone else has to have at least one uppercase E. All right, because they all have this dominant characteristic. But if we look, we know that Tony had the lowercase e, so we know that this had to come from somewhere. So one had to come, okay, from the mother, and one had to come from the father. That being the case, if we're looking at the siblings, we're trying to determine their genotype, we really have a couple possibilities. So it doesn't just have to be capital E, lowercase e, or this heterozygous situation. It could actually be the homozygous dominant situation because we don't know who contributed the uppercase E, and either parent could have contributed the uppercase E or a lowercase e. So for this, we could have two options. We can say they could be homozygous dominant or heterozygous. Okay, perfect. So that example is complete. So he was definitely not switched at birth. He just happened to get that recessive trait, okay, from his heterozygous parents. And let's take a look at our next one. So this is the cleft chin. Oh boy. So I'm going to try and draw a picture. So a cleft chin. I'm trying to draw. This is supposed to be someone's chin. So I'll add a nose and a mouth and some eyes. Okay. And this person has a very big chin. Okay. So this is, okay, not cleft at the moment. Ooh, I made his eyes really creepy, sorry. And then to make a cleft chin, that just means you have a divot in the bottom of your chin, okay? So that's a cleft chin. So we're reading, it says Maria has a smooth chin. Husband has a cleft chin, so I'm going to add her husband has a cleft chin, her oldest son has a smooth chin, and her twin daughters have cleft chins. Ah, so we have something a little bit different now. Okay, so now we're going to draw out. I'm going to draw the husband. I guess I should have started a little bit higher, but that's okay. Then this is Maria. I'm just going to label because that's our person of interest. Maria has some children, so we're going to go down with her husband. It says they have, okay, her husband has a cleft chin, her oldest son has a smooth chin, and then she has twin daughters. So moving out to the side, so oldest is the son, so drawing our square there. And then she has twin daughters. So because the twin daughters are from the same birthing event, they actually come down from the same point, okay? So they were born at approximately the same time. So we're daughters, whoops, so drawing two circles. Okay, perfect. And we're looking at cleft chin, so that's our characteristic of interest. So her husband has the cleft chin, and her twin daughters have the cleft chin as well. So I'm just shading those ones in. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So smooth chin is actually the recessive trait. So we're going to label that as lowercase c, lowercase c. Now this is where it gets challenging because lower and uppercase c look approximately the same. So when I have the lowercase c, I'm just going to draw a line through it just so we can tell it's lowercase. So for lowercase c, so we know both of them have it. And then lowercase c, because they're smooth, okay? So that's a recessive trait. So we know that the other ones have to have at least one capital C, capital C, capital C, because they have the cleft chin. But this is where it gets interesting, okay? So we have to determine the genotypes, and we can start with our twins. So we know that they must have gotten a capital C, so we're assuming that that's what the dad gave them because we know that Maria could not have. So Maria must have contributed the lowercase c gene for this smooth chin to both of the twins. And then we see this. So for the oldest son, in order for him to have the smooth chin, he got one of these lowercase c's from Maria for the smooth chin. And then the other one must have come from the father. So we're going to add that there. Okay, perfect. So we've got it all done. Looks like we can completely figured out everyone's genotypes without any mysteries. And looking now, we have a question. So I'm going to have you answer this, and we'll talk about it in class when we get there the next day. Is our dominant traits always more common? So what do you think? Okay. And then we're looking at this next one. I'm going to upload the presentation so you can see a picture of this. But it says, Fred is polydactyl. Okay, so please look at the presentation because it'll give you an image. So he has 6 fingers on each hand. Please look at the picture on the presentation. Okay. His grandma, so we're going back a few generations, was also polydactyl. Grandpa was not. His 3 older sisters are not. His wife is not. And his oldest son is not, but his younger son is. And Fred thinks this will help him become a more accomplished musician. So having an extra finger will help that, son be maybe an amazing guitarist. So we're first going to start with our situation. So Fred is our person of interest. He's polydactyl. So let's see. I'm going to look at his siblings. He has 3 older sisters. Okay. So I'm going to draw Fred just to locate where we are. So this is Fred. Overarching bracket. And then sister 1, sister 2, sister 3. Okay, perfect. 3 sisters. He is married and has kids with his wife. Look at this. Oops, this is Freya, but Fred. Okay. His oldest son is not polydactyl, but his younger son is. So we've got 2 sons. Ooh, that got a bit big. Okay, so Fred's polydactyl. Younger son's polydactyl. And now let's see. His grandpa, his 3 older sisters, not. She's not his little son, is Fred. Okay. Fred. Dactyl. His grandpa was not. His 3 older sisters were not. Okay. So let's see. We're going to draw up a generation. All right. We're missing, see, this one is a little bit more challenging because we are missing a little bit of information. So let's see. We have here his parents. Ooh, I made them really far apart. And his grandma was polydactyl, his grandfather was not. All right, so we're actually not sure whose parents these are. So it's okay, I'm just going to say they're the mom's parents, just to label them. So, Grandpa was not polydactyl, but Grandma was. Okay, so remember, this is Fred, this is his mom, this is his grandma. Perfect. So now let's take a look at our information. So first we need to figure out if this is a dominant or is it a recessive characteristic. And this actually goes along with our previous question, so hopefully you took a minute to answer it. If you have not, pause now and try and answer it. Okay? And then looking at the information, to be polydactyl is actually a dominant characteristic. So capital P is polydactyl, okay? And lowercase p, I'm going to do an underline so we can tell it around, is not polydactyl. Okay, so everyone who is, we didn't get any information about parents, just so you know, so we have to go back and figure that out. But anyone who has this polydactyl characteristic has a capital P. Okay? Anyone who does not has to be homozygous recessive. So P, P, okay. P, 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 P. So homozygous recessive, homozygous recessive, homozygous recessive for wife, homozygous recessive for the older son as well. So we know this capital P came from this, from Fred, okay, for the younger son, and the mom only has to contribute the lowercase p, so that's what she's going to have. On the other hand, if the other son is homozygous recessive, he must have gotten one of the lowercase p's from mom and another one from dad, okay? I know that we're unsure about this placement, so we don't know if grandparents belong to the mother or father, and that's okay. But if we're looking at what we know, so what we know from the information, we have to think about this connection. So his grandmother has the polydactyl characteristic. So that means, or the polydactyl phenotype, that she must have given it to whoever her child is in order for Fred to get it. So it can't just magically appear. So because we said that these must be the mom's parents, or I just happened to line them up that way, okay, she must have, okay, the capital P. But all of her other kids are homozygous recessive, so we're going to say that she must also have a lowercase p. Now, whoever the partner is, okay, we arranged it this way, but for this, in this case, the dad will be homozygous recessive. And then if we're thinking about this, okay, as a possibility, really for grandma, so this is grandmother. Grandmother, in this case, we only know that she contributed the capital P, and this person has the lowercase p from the dad. So she could potentially be homozygous dominant or heterozygous, and we're just not sure based on the information we have. So we've completed it this way. I mean, I think this is going to be kind of cool to have an extra finger, but okay. We're shaded in just the people who are polydactyl, and we're trying to fill in that missing information, but now we know that we're saying that the mom must have this characteristic, though again, we're unsure which parents, which grandparents we're talking about, if they're the maternal grandparents or if they were the paternal grandparents, but we just chose a location just so that we have something to go off of, and that's okay. So we've completed that one, and that's the end of our notes, so make sure you bring any questions you have to class. Bye.